Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Ellie Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon, and Cleveland, Ohio. We have over 700 books, over 25 employees, and we make about 40 new books every year. And we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or maybe you just want to understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to talk to a special guest star.
Yes.
This is Jess Driscoll. She's the author of the brand new book, The Magic of Pockets, which we have the honor of being the publisher of. Jess is joining us from Canada.
Yes. White Rock, BC.
White Rock, BC. And for those of us watching on video, Jess is wearing a dress of her own making. Does it have pockets, Jess?
Here's the thing. This one doesn't have pockets.
Yet.
Not yet.
Anybody,
we have a book for you.
Yes.
Anybody that's read your book knows that adding pockets at a later date is an option.
It's super easy too, because this one has just straight side seams. All you do is you just open them up, stick the pocket in there. Absolutely.
Oh man.
The reason it doesn't have pockets is because this was a new pattern. And so I was sewing it to see how it would fit, and it's a little bit of a slim fit.
Oh. Okay.
And here's a tip. If your dress is a little bit of, or if your outfit is a little bit slim fit and you stick pockets in there, those pockets are going to gape because you're going to fill the fabric, right? So those pockets are going to come out, and it's not really that best look, which is one of the reasons why they don't make pockets for us anymore. It's because they don't like how they look.
Our clothes
when I say they, I mean capitalism.
Right. Or designers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a weird thing. I've run into this a lot where and as a person who fills their pockets to capacity on a daily basis, which both of you can probably verify, it's like you don't realize the appearance that creates until until you see yourself in the mirror and one of your pockets adds 4 inches to your thigh, or
that's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have to be full, right? Yeah. Because fabric wants to do that. Fabric wants to open up and lay flat and be comfortable. So if you're wearing especially, these bodycon dresses that are really popular right now, you can't stick pockets in those. Because it's just gonna open. It's just gonna fill, and it's gonna be, to be honest, a little unsightly, right?
Happens.
But then
why did you write this book, The Magic of Pockets? Then.
So it actually started with a tweet, which is funny to think about in these days that we are currently living through Elon Musk's buying of Twitter. But my friend sent me a tweet that was, to paraphrase, it was about how when women get together, they compliment each other's clothes, which is different from men who usually compliment each other's look, or not compliment each other's looks, compliment women's looks, right? So. And this is a whole other thing, but women compliment each other's clothes. And when we do, the thing that we say is, "Oh my God, I love your dress." And the other woman will say, "Thanks, it has pockets." That's what's so great about it. Because it's like the holy grail, right? Finding the pockets. So this phrase, "thanks, it has pockets," started to spread on Twitter. It became like a hashtag. It became a thing. And when I read this tweet, I was like, yes, absolutely. It's so true. Also, I know how to sew pockets because I'm a seamstress. I've been sewing since I was literally a kid, like a very young kid. So I have done the thing where I have put pockets into things that didn't have pockets. So I made a zine about it, and I called it "Thanks, It Has Pockets." And then deep in the pandemic, I was looking at my zines and going, do I have ideas anymore? I feel like I don't have any more ideas. And I looked at the zine and I was like, it was 8 pages. It was nothing. I was like, you know what? This could be a book. And I had met Joe and Ellie at XOXO conference, and I was like, this could be a book with Microcosm. It fits right in. It was the perfect, I should say, fit. It was the perfect fit.
Pocket.
We sewed it right up against the other
We
books.
sewed it right up. Exactly.
Well, I have to say, like, you sent us one of the best pitches I've ever seen. Like,
that was like the most amazing thing. I agonized over this pitch, and then I got this email the next day, just like absolutely enthusiastic, and I was like, "Oh my god,
And,
really?"
And and that's the thing. It's like, if a person is a writer, they should be able to write a pitch.
Joe,
There you go.
can you describe? So Joe does our acquiring at Microcosm. Joe, can you describe like what it was about Jess's pitch that like worked on every level?
It was clear. I didn't have to do detective work to figure out what the book is, why somebody would care, how it's different from the other books, because I mean, there just aren't. I mean, there's other books about pockets, but they're academic books,
Yeah,
or they're
really academic,
or they're technical books. You can definitely buy the $200 book that is like how to use this kind of sewing machine to put this kind of pocket on this kind of clothing. But that's not what we do. I don't think that's as interesting to you either. And so it's something that's a little more democratic than either of those things just didn't exist. So it was another thing where it's like, it's not something I would have thought of on my own, but it was like immediately clear how awesome and needed it was, and I think about it too. I mean, and it's like, that's what I always tell people is like, I want the submission that is something I didn't know I was interested in. And it is this.
Totally. And I would also say that like you followed our instructions perfectly, which many pitches
yes,
do
I
not.
did.
Right. Yeah, you should
Much
see.
appreciated.
I literally did. Like, if I can give you any advice, I have actually sent your instructions to other friends, like who are not submitting to Microcosm, who are submitting to other people who are like writing queries for agents, and I'm like, read these instructions because they're so clear, and like these people are acquiring tons and tons of books. And they know what they're talking about. They've been doing it for a long time. So yeah, like just follow the instructions. It's so simple. And you're right, a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
You see people online, it's like how to write a query. It's like there's so many books now. You shouldn't be asking that question anymore. Go get a book.
Right.
Or read a website.
And thank you. That is very kind. And when I think about it too, where like I've written and rewritten and rewritten that, like our submission guidelines at least 100 times, because every time I'm stymied by somebody, and now it really just comes down to like, I think it's perfect. It only doesn't work when somebody just disregards the whole thing, doesn't read it, or doesn't follow the directions, or thinks that, I mean, a lot of people really approach it, well, let's say a certain segment of the population approaches it like the rules don't apply to them,
Yeah.
And then
I think authors are particularly prone to that as well too.
Yeah.
Writers.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing where it's like, if you read it and follow it, like, and there's lots of people that try to get in the back door and try to be like, I'm friends with so-and-so. And you're like, I just don't care.
It's like, we all need friends.
It's like, we're publishing your book, not your friend list.
That is because Ellie asked me, I told Ellie that I was working on a proposal, and she asked me, you want me to look at it for you? And I said, that doesn't feel right. Like,
right.
Like, well, I appreciate your integrity, which apparently is greater than mine. I don't think I
know
knew that you were working on it for Microcosm, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember if I told you it was for Microcosm.
You didn't. I didn't know. I don't know. For all I knew, you were going to pitch something to Chronicle, and I was
Yeah.
like
Don't do
happy
it.
to be
Do
your
they take-
proofreader.
Do they take unagented submissions?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I feel like the
Because
final
Chronicle
thing,
makes very cool gift books.
Mhm.
the final thing about your pitch that I really appreciated is that we were the correct publisher to pitch it to.
Yes.
Like this book was perfect for us.
Yeah,
So
it
you chose
was
well.
it was tailor made for you, right?
Tailor-made.
Like, it really was. I am a person who has wanted to be a writer since as long as I've been sewing, since I've been a very young kid. And I've never been able to figure out how, because I've never seen what I want to write out there in the world. I'm like, I don't know if my books fit here. I'm not a novelist. I tried to write fiction. I tried for so long. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm not a fiction writer.
You're not a liar.
And getting getting a nonfiction book is so much harder, because everything I read about getting an agent as a nonfiction writer is you must have an audience that's this big. You must have, 100,000 followers on Twitter. You must have 1 million followers on Instagram. You must have a YouTube channel with, everything I read says you have to bring the audience before you can even get an agent. So how does anyone get a book made? That's why I started making zines, That's why I started writing zines, is because I just had so many books inside me. I needed to do something with them. And then the first time that I walked into the Microcosm office, or the store, it looks like an office. It's like the first time I walked into the store, it was like, oh, my books fit here. And I think that's partly because you do zines as well too, right? It's like, oh, there's a whole stack of zines right there, right? Like, I could write a zine for Microcosm. Wait a second, no, I could write a book for Microcosm. It's just, I just fit in exactly. Like, I could see where I belonged on the shelf. And that was one of the things that was part of the proposal as well, too. The submission proposal. It's like,
Uh-oh, we lost Joe. Let's keep talking, though. Joe will be back. There you are.
There we go. The submission proposal forces you to go through Microcosm's catalog and see where you fit in. And that's really kind of like the truth telling, right? It's like, if you cannot find, 2-3 books that are close enough, then you have to sit down and ask yourself, do I fit in at Microcosm? Is Microcosm the right place?
Well, you don't actually have to ask yourself that, as our submission pile proves. You should.
That's what I'm saying, right? You should ask yourself that. It's like, oh, maybe I don't fit here. Maybe I do need to go somewhere else. And I think a lot of people are just so desperate to write a book that, like Joe says, they just don't read those things. They just don't. They think, oh, I'm the exception. I'm the great new book that nobody's ever said that they wanted.
Yeah.
And maybe for a reason, I don't know.
And, and that can be okay too. It's just like, we're not the place for them, probably.
Yeah.
And there's options for them, and that's fine. And but yeah, you make a very good point. It's like, your publisher needs to be able to sell your book. So they need to have some things that are like it, or they can't really do anything for you that you can't do for yourself,
That's exactly right. I can't be the one sewing book on your table that you're trying to sell. So like your books, Radical Sewing and Make Your Space, and you're starting to build up this little domestic arts section that is very exciting, that I feel like I slot right in there.
Totally. And like, even if we didn't have any other like books focused on sewing, I guess we had like 2 others that were like just about sewing.
already when yours came out. But even if we didn't, like a cute little book about how to do an essential craft at home with cute little drawings fits in with many of our non-sewing books as well.
Yeah.
Like somebody could
Yeah,
totally buy your book and a book about how to grow herbs on your fire escape, and those two go together, you know?
Yeah, and that's a point that I make in my book as well too, right? Like sewing your own pockets is right there with all the other DIY crafts starting to become a little bit more popular, I think, you know, during the pandemic when all those people started making sourdough starters, you know,
Which you also
maybe a
are a
lot of them,
baker, right?
which I am also a big person that does. Yes. Yeah, during the pandemic, actually in December, I had planned to do the farmer's market, my summer farmer's market, and I was going to sell sourdough starter in December 2019. It was hilarious because I show up May 2020 at my farmer's market and everyone's like, sourdough starter. Like, I thought I was going to have to teach people. I thought there was going to be like this big learning curve of telling people how to use sourdough starter and what it is and why you should do it. And I show up in, you know, mid 2020 and people are like, yes, sourdough starter. I need this.
You were
There's
right
no
on trend.
yeast everywhere. It was very, very fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an interest in house plants? That seems to be the new sourdough.
That is the new thing. Yes. That is one that I am not into, frankly. I live in an apartment. I live in a basement apartment, and I have these windows. I have these windows that are this big, and they do give me a lot of light, right? At certain times of the day. So in the mornings, beautiful. You know, as soon as it's noon, not so much.
Right. Yeah.
And my backyard is also very shady too. My grandma is the green thumb of the family. So she's always giving me plants. You know, she wants to give me some basil because she always grows too much. She wants to give me hanging plants to make my place look beautiful. And I'm like, Grandma, it's just all shade. I need shade plants.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, so what was it, you know, like what captivated you about like the social history or like the even like political history, dare I say, of pockets that made you like interested in those aspects?
Yeah, so there's totally a capitalism and a patriarchy thing that runs through the history of pockets. The fact that men's clothing has long had pockets. We're talking like, you know, 1600s they have had pockets in all of their clothes. They have pockets in their breeches and in their jackets, and women have not. And you have to wonder why. You have to wonder what is it that they're trying to stop women from carrying, right?
I guess
are
it's
they
where
trying
you
to
put your
stop women?
Mm.
For the most part, as far as I can tell, that is one of the big things. But here's the thing: is that women have always gotten around that, because one of the things that women learned very young back then is how to sew. And so they took these clothes, and even if they didn't sew whole garments, because not every woman, even back then, not every woman sewed her own clothes, because that is really a master craft. You know, there's some things that I don't sew. You know, I can sew this. But there is like wedding dresses. I don't touch wedding dresses. I don't do gowns, you know. But women could sew small things. They could hand sew. They could do, you know, very small, because a very popular thing was doing like embroidery, you know, as your after dinner, you know, while everyone's talking, you do some embroidery just to keep your hands from being idle. And so they would make these removable pockets. They would make these things that are like pouches on a string, on a long string, and you wrap them around your waist underneath your skirts, tie them up, and they would have little slits. They would make little slits in their skirts, so it was like this hidden little place where you sneak in. And some of these pockets are huge. Like there is records in these books that, that the academics have found, not me. But they have found records of like women being arrested, and then they would catalog everything that was in the pocket, and it's like this huge long list of like, she's got her cigarette case, she's got a comb, she got a brush, she's got her money pouch, she's got her eyeglasses, and it's like, how are you keeping that much stuff in your pockets? But because they're these big pouches, and because they're hidden under these huge skirts, you could hide anything under there. Right?
I love that. And you show us in your book how to make pockets like that, which I love.
How
I was
to
actually
make
trying
that
to think
removable
of
pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think of
Yeah.
like some reason and some excuse to make a pocket like that for myself. I don't think I have a suitable garment, but I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most fun projects in the book because it's so out of the modern context, right? There's just almost no way to make that fit onto your current wardrobe, right? You can't wear it under pants.
Unless you're going to Ren Fair.
Unless you're a Ren Fair, yeah. Yeah.
Or
and
SCA.
if you're going to Ren Fair, you can wear that on the outside because nobody cares.
You fit right in.
Yeah, exactly. And the other things that I show you how to make in that book are like little pouches that are the precursor to pockets. So, that fits right in as well too. For the people who have, belts or pants that they still want better pockets, you can just make like little extra pouches for yourself. Because that's what we did before we had pockets. We just strung ourselves with bags.
I love that. What's your favorite? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you knew if this is how the purse came to such popular usage.
I believe so. Yes. Right. I don't know if somebody has made that like official connection. Like we know for sure that is where it came from. But like I say, we have always, as a people, worn little pockets. One of the references in my book is the oldest mummy that we have ever found is a Copper Age mummy. And his body was found with a little pocket in his belt. He had a pocket and it had like the desiccated bits of food in there. So like that was his pocket.
His snack
It was
pocket.
In his belt, but that was his pocket.
And you teach us how to make that kind of pocket too, which I'm also tempted to try.
It's a very weird little. It's just a weird little fold of fabric to like hide very small things in. But why not? Why not add little secret pouches to your clothing for all your stuff? You think about. I'm thinking about those wristbands that like runners wear that have like an ID card and the key in it, right? That's exactly what it is. A
portable pocket.
So like we have always made little pouches. We have always carried little bags. So the fact that today we carry purses that are like designer purses, I think that's a very ancient thing.
I love that.
We just made them more fancy, designer, sturdy, and we just formalized it into something bigger. But it's a pocket in its sense. Because really that's where the word pocket comes from. Right? The word pocket comes from the word pouch. It doesn't have an extra meaning. It is the same meaning as any bag that we carry.
Right.
It's just that it's attached to our clothes, which made it different.
And better in every way.
Because you reach down and it's like,
it's right there. And you can it's a cozy place to rest your hands. I'm a big fan of pockets. I have my hand in my pockets right now of this.
I can see you wearing a nice cozy jacket.
And the thing that sold me on this jacket was the pockets.
Absolutely.
So
that one has big pockets.
It's really great pockets.
I contain my enthusiasm.
It doesn't have a fastener up the front, which I thought would be a deal breaker, but I actually don't mind. Like having the pockets is actually the feature that matters.
Yeah, it's just like a house robe thing. Just throw it on. And the great thing about sewing your own pockets is that you can make them any size. So like if you have a specific thing that you know that you always carry, make the pattern to fit that thing, right? So, draw the pattern around that thing so you know that it fits. You know that it fits your phone. Because that's the number one complaint that I see online is people
No.
complaining that their phone doesn't fit in their pockets.
Or worse, the worst thing for me about pockets is when you have the kind of pocket where there is a pocket there, but it's like an enemy pocket. I call them the enemy pockets, where like anything you put in it is liable to be lost forever immediately. Just from like walking down the street.
Because it's too small, so it just kind of like works its way up. And
I guess so, either too small or like shaped or angled in a certain way. Like I had a pair of pants once that I loved in college, and I would just lose everything from the pockets. I lost my wallet once, and then a hippie mailed it back to me with a t-shirt that he had designed.
Wow.
But I have a coat now, like my winter coat. I kind of need a new one because I've lost so many gloves out of those pockets.
That I wonder if that's like an angle thing then. Like
I think it is because it's not too
like
small at all.
Yeah. Because like if the angle of your pockets, because that's definitely the thing with like the hoodie pocket, which is one of the patterns. The hoodie pocket can definitely, things can pop out the sides there. Yeah. So that's why pockets go this way.
Yeah. Pocket design is so important. Thank you for bringing this light to the world.
These ones, it's like it's gold because it only falls out if you bend all the way forward.
Yep.
You know, which may or may not happen in my daily life. But
so what do you keep in that pocket, in that shirt pocket?
What don't you keep in that pocket?
Little demo for you.
Yeah.
And then
and it's got a flap. It's got a flap.
I've seen pens in there.
Make the flap too.
I've seen notes and lists in there.
If I have something that like, if I'm like tabulating something, I will put it in here. Or if I have something that I'm just walking to a different room, I'll put it in there so I don't forget about it. You know, and because a lot of my daily job is like, this goes in this room, putting this away. You know.
Yeah. Carrying it from room to room.
Just like being organized.
So this pattern, this dress pattern, it has a shirt pocket, and you can see that I didn't put them on there.
You didn't want to interfere with the strawberry shortcake.
Right. You got that fabric, and you don't want to screw with that. Yeah.
I just don't have a lot of shirts that have the shirt pocket. I think it's just not as convenient for me as a top endowed woman.
I feel that. I absolutely feel that.
The pockets just don't sit right for me.
Yeah.
So I have one that has kind of like the lab coat pockets where like they're like right here.
Oh
and
yeah.
That's like my favorite one because I want to tell you, things never fall out of those pockets.
Really? Okay. There's a tip for you.
The
Put
sort
your
of
pockets in
Gaia shirt pockets.
And they don't like. There's nothing that and I don't know why they're there. I mean, because at first it seemed like a funny and awkward place.
Yeah.
But it would solve your problem. It solves several of my problems, and they can double as like putting your hands in when you're in awkward social situations.
So, that is another great use for the pocket. It's like pretending to find where was that thing?
I don't know.
Give me 1 second.
I feel I have so many feelings about putting hands in pockets though, because it like does feel cozy and safe to do it. But I learned early on, because of where I lived growing up, that like walking down the street with your hands in your pockets is not a safe thing to do.
Oh, really? Because people think you have stuff in there?
I think it's because when people, this is a complete theory of mine, but I have noticed that when I can see somebody's hands, I feel more safe around them. And if they can see my hands, they feel more like they act safer around me. I don't know why it is, but I've long had this like, to walk down the street with my hands in my pockets, I have to like, I just feel like I'm on high alert. I'm checking. I'll take them out if I see any sign of another person. Unless it's
like
really
a body
cold.
language thing, I guess.
It is because it's like showing.
Like crossing your arms is like closing off your energy. So like showing
Right.
your hands is like showing I'm no harm to you. I have nothing
Totally.
to.
I have nothing to
'Cause
hide, and I
at
also have nothing to give you.
Yeah, yeah. That was my thought, right? That if you have your hands in your pockets, you're showing that you have stuff that you're like protecting.
Maybe.
So like,
Okay, according to Google, it's saying it communicates powerlessness and shyness. So it's basically you're saying that you can be dominated easily.
If you have your hands in your
Oh.
pockets.
Yeah, if you're walking
Yeah.
with your hands in your pockets,
Yeah.
the body language is powerlessness.
I definitely
Totally.
see powerless, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
because your hands are encumbered.
Like, you can't
So
immediately
you're-
catch yourself if you trip and fall. If somebody were to
Yeah.
come at you, you can't like defend yourself. But also it just like I feel like it like shows like, hey, I'm here. I'm willing to like make a deal with you. I don't. Yeah, there's like something about
Shake
that
your
where.
hand.
Yeah, I don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
What kind of
Yeah.
deals are you making?
The deal to not mug
that
me.
could be like that
Oh,
could be like a whole second edition book of like the body language of pockets. Wow,
Ooh.
like we could like slip it into like the witchy stuff of like the Oracle of Pockets.
I'm so
Like,
into that.
Yes.
I feel like yeah, if you do ever do a second edition, you could have a chapter about that, and then you could also have a chapter about like what you were saying about like the pocket people wear on their arm for their phone, like the kind of the evolution
Yeah.
of pocket technology with new personal computing technology.
yeah, I know
I didn't think there were more
I was-
topics about pockets, but I guess there are.
And yet.
I was actually rereading. I was rereading my submission, and there's actually a pocket in there that I never put in the book.
There's a missing
And I-
pocket. I
I
never caught
looked
that.
at it and I was like, "Oh my god, how did we miss that idea? That was such a great idea." And
Well,
now I
what
can't
was
remember
it? What was
it
the
is,
missing
obvious.
pocket?
I can't remember now.
All
I
right,
have to
well,
look it up.
Keep that
I
one
have
in
to
your
go back
pocket.
Yeah,
now we know.
keep
All
it
right.
in my pocket for later.
So we need to wrap this up, but do you have any other future projects you're working on or excited about that you want to share with the world? No pressure.
That is yeah. I set myself a goal to have the proposal for the next book sent in by the time that this book came out. And obviously that didn't happen.
We don't need to tell anybody. It may or may not have happened.
It could have happened.
All that stuff happens below the surface.
Yeah, Joe's been keeping it in his pockets, his many pockets. I got COVID in September.
Oh, okay.
And, like,
Yeah,
Pretty solid excuse.
I'll
yeah,
allow it.
It has been a long way back to feeling a little bit normal, and I have so many ideas, and I just feel like none of them are good enough yet, right? And I know I have to get over that, but like, it's just none of them are good enough yet. So we'll get there. We'll get there because I know that my next book belongs on Microcosm shelves. Absolutely.
I
Like,
hope so.
it's gonna be something.
Yes.
It's gonna be something good.
I mean, you are a person with a great wealth of ideas and good ideas too. Though maybe they're not all polished and perfect yet, but
Yes. Yeah, Ellie came to me. She's like, "Can you darn?" I was like, "I wish I could."
If only. I can't do everything, Ellie. But you can also like bad ideas or workshop ideas with us.
it's not
if you
cheating.
want.
We do it all the time.
Absolutely. We need to do a time when we're not recording so we can just bat around some ideas.
You want to do it privately?
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.